Welcome to the Sheckler Spotlight, where creativity meets purpose and conversation goes deeper. Join host Harrison Sheckler as he sits down with inspiring guests from all walks of life, artists, thinkers, musicians, and everyday heroes, to explore the stories that shape us, uplift us, and connect us. Now here's your host, Harrison Sheckler.
Hi, I'm your host, Harrison Sheckler. Today, I'm honored to welcome a truly unique voice in modern Christian and country music, Todd Tilghman. Todd is best known as the winner of Season 18 of NBC's The Voice, where his raspy, soulful style and heartfelt authenticity captured audiences across the country. Blending country, gospel, worship, and classic rock influences, Todd creates what he calls slice of life music. Songs rooted in faith, family, and real human experience. Before stepping onto the national stage, Todd served as a pastor in Mississippi and built a life centered around faith and family. He and his high school sweetheart, Brooke, married since 1998, are raising 8 children together. In addition to his music, Todd and Brooke co-authored the book Every Little Win, sharing lessons about celebrating small victories and finding joy in everyday life. His new single, Didn't Feel Like Faith, is currently hitting radio, and today we'll talk about his journey from ministry to music, from The Voice to life after the spotlight, and how faith continues to shape everything he creates. The spotlight is now on you. Todd Tilghman, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, man, thanks so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, I'm super excited to dive into your faith journey, your music, and just what makes you you. So I'd like to start out, I mentioned that you had once described yourself as your music as slice of life. And so I was wondering, what is your childhood like? And how did your upbringing, shape your perspective on music and faith?
Oh man, that's my childhood. I was born in North Mississippi, in Grenada, Mississippi, and I lived there until I was 11. And when I was little, my dad was he was in interior design and drywall and that kind of stuff. But then he went into full-time ministry, I think when I was 9 or something, 8 or 9. And so I grew up a pastor's kid from then, pretty much. He evangelized for a couple of years, and then I was a pastor's kid, and he pastored in a little town in Mississippi called Kosciuszko, and then we moved to Meridian when I was 14. And so, I've gotten in a little trouble for saying I'm from Meridian because I wasn't born there, but
sure.
I mean, I did all my growing up in Meridian, so I just say I'm from there. But man, yeah, when I say slice of life, man, I've never even looked at it in terms of my childhood and stuff. I kind of just, I guess I kind of just even in the stuff, because in the faith world and in the Christian music world, there's a fairly precise kind of message that we're sending out to the world. Mm-hmm. So it's actually a little tougher in that regard sometimes when you're writing songs. But I like that. I like that it's a challenge. But I kind of just want to take those things, there's these threads that sort of tie us all together, that everybody's experiencing, even if you don't think you're a person of faith, you believe in something, and hopefully my vision in the beginning and still to now, and there's been some pretty significant challenges to it, to be honest. It's just hopefully people can listen to the songs and, maybe right on the surface, they might not think, and some of them, of course, but other ones, maybe right on the surface, they might not think, hey, this is a faith song, but after a while, maybe they will, I'm sorry, man, I'm getting distracted. My email's going off.
You're totally fine.
It'll drive me nuts.
You're good.
But hopefully if they listen, maybe even if you sort of dive into who I am, because you can listen to these things that tie us together, like I said, like faith and family and the passage of time, that how you one day, my birthday is in the first part of January. So I just celebrated and I turned 48, and one of these days, unless you've already been there, of course, you're going to wake up and man, you're 48 years old. And it just went by so fast, and hopefully there was some point in there that you chose to be very intentional about paying attention to that. These kids, man, it can be frustrating. You know, we spent, I kind of joke around, even though it's not a joke, it's the truth. We spent a lot of our lives as young parents hiding the toys that make noise up on top of the, entertainment center. And, and then you reach a point where you're like, man, you wish you could hear that noise again, because right now we have a little one in our house. We're a foster family as well. So we have a little baby in our house.
Okay.
And so the noise is kind of back, but those are the kinds of things. But man, growing up in a pastor's family and then in the South, I think, I don't ever want to get myself in trouble with people, but I do think growing up in the South is a unique experience, and it's and so I grew up, riding my bike, and I was born in the late 70s. And so I got to experience the time in the world before everybody was, online,
Right. Yeah. It was a different world.
Yeah, man, we rode our bikes and down to the park at the end of the street. And then the older I got, we sort of lived, especially since I've been married, we've mostly lived rurally. But as a child, man, I did we climbed the trees and camped out in the woods. And, some of my first money I ever earned was loading hay bales onto a trailer as they drove it through the pasture out there, and those things shape you, and hopefully you can sort of see that. But most of all, I do hope that people can listen to the music, especially, and just see that I love you. I'm not here to push or force anything on anybody, but hopefully they can listen to music and get some inkling that God is really so good, and he offers us a really beautiful, adventurous life if we choose to take it.
We just had a staff meeting just now that I came from, and we usually pick at the beginning of the staff meeting a Bible verse to focus on, and it was in Matthew. We were talking, being the salt and light of the earth, and being that good example for others, and being that light of Christ. And it sounds like through your, I would say through your music, through your ministry, that's what you're trying to do for all people, like you said, even those who maybe don't have that faith background, but it can relate to the human experience and what we're all going, and it can pull us together because we're all going through life together. It's a wonderful journey. So I'm curious, what were the musical influences early on in your life? Where did that come? So we see your dad being the pastor, and so you have that faith foundation, but where did music come in?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to say where it came in. The first time I ever sang, I was 8 years old. I sang a song called "God Likes People," and I remember it's weird because we just were having, literally right before I came and got on this podcast, we were having a little family meeting with our kids, and so because our kids homeschool and every, we have right now let's see, we have 7 kids at home if you count our little foster baby that we have here, and so every once in a while it can it can kind of go off the rails, and you have to sort of bring it back together. I just was saying to them, I was saying from the time my earliest memory till the time I left home, I was talking about some experiences I had grown up. But as far as musical influences, man, I've always, and I don't want to I can't take any credit for this because it's not anything that I did intentionally. It just sort of happened. But I've always been very broad in the music that I like, because I've always loved like worship music, and I grew up in the era also that what we kind of call praise and worship or whatever whatever the title is, was sort of being introduced into the worship services, because it was always strictly the hymns, and the choir would do hymns, and pretty strictly. I don't want to just say totally strict. And so I've always loved that, but I have always loved the hymns. I still, wherever I go now, whatever the circumstances are, because sometimes sometimes the setting is more of a secular setting, which is part of the vision. I want to be in that setting, you know. But wherever I go now, there's still a little part of our set list that's just a medley of hymns, you know. I've always loved the hymns, but I always also listen to like classic rock and roll. Like I've always loved like John Hyatt, you know, and like Van Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved that stuff, and I still do to this day. And country, I still maintain that the 1990s were the sweet spot, you know, for country music, you know. But I love a lot of the older stuff. You know, there are some bright spots in the new stuff, but I'm not a huge fan, to be honest, with most of them.
That's
It's
fair.
okay.
To each their own,
Takes
right?
all kinds. Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes all kinds. But I would say influentially, I kind of would really, just looking back at what I remember doing, is trying to emulate like black gospel, like gospel music,
Mm-hmm.
like listening to those kinds of things and try to emulate the sound. And I love, because there was so, you know, I say was, it still is, but there's so much passion, you know, there. And there's I don't know, it's like some of those sounds feel like they just come from the deepest part of your soul or something. And so I would do that, you know. But I didn't see it before, because I don't think, I don't know. I can't speak for anybody but myself. I don't know what other people do, but I don't know that anybody does. I never like looked at myself as if I were like on the outside looking in and saying, hey, I can hear these influences. But as I got older and then went on the show, and then lots of people want to talk about it, I can see, you know, a lot of those classic rock, Three Dog Night kind of, you know,
Yeah.
Creedence Clearwater Revival kind of. I can kind of hear a little bit of that, and I can hear the gospel, you know. I can hear that stuff, and I would sort of train myself, even if it was like a little run or something. If I couldn't do it, I would just like slow it down and try to sing it slow, you know. And then like I cannot think of an example, but I'm trying to think of a song that's got a run in it. You know, nothing's coming to mind. But I would like slow it down and just kind of sing that. But really, it's so broad. You know, I remember being like a preteen in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, and getting in trouble because we were listening to like Bon Jovi. You know, which now it's like so like, you know, beige tan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
no big deal.
But I remember I got into trouble because I was listening to like Cinderella and Bon Jovi and Poison, you know.
Oh, I love it.
And Guns N' Roses and stuff.
That's good music. I like that.
Oh,
That's
man, yeah.
great music. So, were you completely self-taught?
It depends on what you mean by that, but yes, I never took voice lessons. I've taken. I don't want to say self-taught, just because there have been many people in my life who I respect, who are vocal, just to me, like no one knows their name except for the people that they live with or work with or go to church with. But you know, they are so phenomenal. And sometimes I would ask them, other times I would just sort of almost eavesdrop on them talking about, you know, things that they did to help them, with the way you breathe or whatever, you know, the things that you do. But yeah, I just always would. And I don't, thank God, you know, I can only give God the glory and the credit for it. I didn't do anything. There's nothing that I did, but I guess I would hear when I would lead worship. I think I would just hear a sound that maybe wasn't in the original recording of that worship song, you know, but I would sort of just do that because I heard that and it felt like a natural place to go for me, you know. And so I guess that's just, it's hard to explain, but I guess that's sort of how I've kind of, even what I do now, and I'm still, I hope I die learning. I'm still learning even now, you know.
I love it. So when was the transition of where you thought, okay, I really love music, but you know, I'm on this trajectory to be a pastor? Where did the music at becoming a profession, where did that even come into play? Like what time?
Oh, well, you know, I'll try to condense it. It's a long, complicated story.
Sure.
Very long. I started. I mean, I was on staff, like pastoral staff, at the same church my dad pastored, which means I was at the same church, not on staff, of course, but from the time I was 14 years old. But I was on staff like 18. I was on staff at the church. I mean, when I say on staff, I wasn't getting, it was, you know, when you're like youth pastor and stuff, I always say, man, when they give you that check, it's already in the negative,
Yeah.
you deposit it and they take money out of your account.
The
But
rewards in heaven, right?
yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. But I was on staff for probably 22 years or 20 something, from 1996, 24 years. Um, but I became lead pastor in 2011.
Okay.
And somewhere I didn't like mark it in the calendar or anything. Somewhere around 2016 or 2017, I started feeling, and it's impossible. I have tried so many times, just in conversation or on podcasts or whatever, to really kind of verbalize. I don't know how to explain it except to say, like, I just started feeling like something had to change. Like, I didn't know what or how. I was feeling like even the faith part of it. This is no reflection at all on pastoral ministry or on the church that we were at. It was all that was fine. It was fine. No, I don't ever want to be that guy. That was all fine. It was me. It was just a me thing. I was feeling like I wanted to just sort of get to the ground level of what it is to follow Jesus and love people in the world. And I didn't know how to do that. And I started kind of just looking for things that I could do. Like, I remember I went and refilled out the FAFSA forms. I thought maybe I could go back to school.
Oh, really? Okay.
Even though school's I'm just not a school guy, and it took me, sadly, into my adulthood, late 30s, early 40s, to realize that's okay. Some people are just not classroom people, and I'm not. I tell the guys in Kentucky, because I sing with a group in Kentucky at the Ark Encounter and a Creation Museum. And I was not an original member. And so they're like teaching me all this new music and stuff. And it's a learning curve for me because I've always just been like solo, and they're having to teach me how to do harmonies and things when it's but I told those guys, I'm like, I hope you know that I'm not making excuses when I tell you I can listen to these songs over and over and over, but they're not really going to take until I just sing them with you a few times. And that's how so the classroom's not but I remember I reached out on social media and just said, how do you become a barber? Do you just go to like regular cosmetology school? Is there a special barber school? Because I thought, hey, I could interact with people, just like right where they are. What I sort of landed on was real estate. I was going to try to get my real estate license. I had a friend, an acquaintance that was going to help me get my real estate license. And this was all happening over a span of a handful of years. And in 2019, like early 2019, springtime, I would think it was March or April, I probably could dig and find, and I should have done that by now, but I never have. I was trying to teach myself how to play the piano because I still don't really play any instruments, not especially not well enough to get on stage. But I would say the answer is no. Period. I don't, But I was trying to teach myself how to play piano, so I would go on Instagram and I would just bang the chords out on these songs that I like and all kinds of stuff, worship stuff and country stuff and rock and roll, and I would sing. Like at the time, you could only do 1 minute videos on Instagram. And so I would just sing a minute, I would sing 1 minute and post them. And I got a message from a friend of my sister, actually. And it was a link to an open call audition for The Voice to register, And so I thought, I'm literally throwing spaghetti at the wall right now, just trying to figure out what to do and where to go next. And so I thought,
real quick, have you told anyone that you were doing this, or was this all on your own accord, or had you told your wife and your kids?
My wife knew.
Okay.
Yeah. My wife knew. And I like a couple of people knew, but not really. No, okay. Only my wife knew that I was sort of in this. And my wife, like I said, she's an open book. So a couple of people knew
I love it.
because of her. Um, but so I just figured, what the heck, and I filled out the registration, but the audition wasn't until the end of July, so it was several months away still. And in that interim there, I had just decided not to do it because I mean, in all honesty, the chances of that being anything are astronomical,
Right.
literally. So I was just like, I'm not going to do it. We didn't, I had to travel to Atlanta. We were living in Meridian, Mississippi, which is, I don't know, 4 hours ish. I don't know. And so I would have to spend the night and all these things. And we, even now, a lot of people, I love to joke when I'm live and stuff on my social media, but it's really not a joke. Even now, one of the hardest things for me to do is explain to people that we don't have any money. Y'all,
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody thinks we have no money. Like we were fighting for our lives out here, but we didn't have the resources, and so I decided not to do it. And then, because really the narrative in the world is that my wife pushed me to go, and it's true. But that's when she stepped in, was when I had decided not to go. Then she stepped in and she was like, at the very least, we can use it as a learning experience for our kids to take a chance, risk it, and we're always telling our kids, even now, that, do those things. If you feel like it's the right thing, of course, do those things that make people think you're crazy or side eye you, especially, and no offense, I don't want to get in trouble with anybody that listens to your show, but like, especially the Pharisees,
Yes.
those that
Yes.
when it makes those people question what you're doing, if you feel like that's what you do, that thing. And so I went, and honestly, I didn't expect a yes. And I knew they give you this paperwork, and all the rundown. And so I knew that if they said yes to me in the open call, which is, they don't show it on The Voice, they show it on American Idol, but it's very similar, just thousands of people lined up for blocks, and I knew that if they said yes, there was a callback audition the following day in Atlanta at a different place, and it was like scheduled
Hmm.
instead of you just sort of waiting in line, and I knew that, but I was so convinced that I would not get that I didn't even bring any more clothes with me, And so when I got the call back, I had to go to TJ Maxx and buy clothes, to wear
That's awesome.
to wear to the callback audition. But it wasn't even then. I, when I would say sometime in the middle of me being on the show. Like when you finally got this, yes, you are on the show, you do your blind audition, the coaches is when I really thought, it's because it's not, there's no modest way to say that I knew that I could sing, like, I don't know how to say that without, because I'm so humbled by that. That I'm so grateful for that. I knew, but I just never thought it was something that like people would want to listen to on mass or anything. I just, I thought I could do it at church and that was fine. But sometime in my time on the show is when I thought maybe, and I remember telling my wife, like, if just being on the show, because we were home for the majority of it, but just being on the show alone is significant enough. But if I win this show, then to me, there's no clearer message from God. Like, maybe real estate is not the thing right now. Maybe take this path, And so that it wasn't until then that I shifted, and I thought, I know God's changing trajectory here. I know that. I just don't know what or how. But so there have been many, many times that I thought, oh man, I hope I wasn't wrong about it, because it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer to me every day why people were so surprised when I started all over at 42 years old from scratch. At the end I was like, what? But now I'm like, oh, I see what you mean. Then that was when I thought maybe I could do it. And man, I hope people, if there's any message that I can send to people in the world, that there's no way for me to know whether that's what God wants for you or not. That's not for me to say. But I can say if you are looking for it to feel like success, oh, I don't know, man. I still don't feel like I've seen that. Now it feels like the right thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
a calling. Mm-hmm.
But man, it's hard, man. It's been probably one of the hardest things in my life to, jumping into this world, because, whatever you want to say about it, I've, I've gotten myself into a little trouble before, so it's not like that. It's already happened. So I guess I can do it now. Like the entertainment music industry, they're already not looking for 42-year-old men,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like there's one strike against you right there. But I don't know I want to say this in the very, because I always try to keep my heart positioned in the right way. So I want to do that. So much of the entertainment world it's an illusion. I used to say fake and I got in a lot of trouble. But and then people say, well, Christian music, oh, it's even worse. It's not even to say it, y'all. It's even worse.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know that I'm the best person to give advice. But I would say if you feel like that's what God's calling you to do and you're supposed to do, you just got to keep plugging away at it. And you realize there are going to be times, and I'm not ashamed to say there are going to be times when you have to take the merch money and use it for groceries,
Mm-hmm.
and those times are going to come. And there are going to be times I have literally sat down with my wife and with my kids and said to them, y'all, I love you. And I'm sorry. I felt like this would work. And it seems like it hasn't worked in the way that I had hoped it would. And so now I feel like I put y'all in a bad situation, but we're just going to keep moving and keep looking, keeping our eyes open for whatever the doors are that God opens, so it's, I didn't mean to go into like a
No,
diatribe,
no, I think this is really good because, what you kind of alluded to there's just a certain facade that the entertainment industry, both in music and just, film, television, entertainment, they portray it and on social media as one way, and
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of this in the music industry where I'm more oriented, and then I've also seen it in some film because I worked on some sets and stuff, and I don't think people really realize what it's really like, and a lot of it is not as glamorous as they make it
Oh
out
no.
to be. And like, you're saying too, it's like you won The Voice. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's such a rare thing. Out of thousands of people auditioning, you were the one that was chosen. And,
Yeah.
that's, I tell everyone, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe everything
No,
happens
no.
for a reason, and I believe God has a plan for us, and we have to trust in that. The
Mm-hmm.
hard part, it's not going to be easy. I think, but
Oh man,
that's
no.
what's beautiful about Christianity, though. It's probably the hardest thing you can embark on.
Mm-hmm.
Is following God's calling for us, but
Right.
just constantly directing our ways, our path to Him. You got to trust in the Lord, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Oh man.
I see that's what you're doing. I would like, if you don't mind, diving into really your experience with The Voice and then maybe your outlook on the entertainment industry, because I find it really fascinating, and I think it can be good for people to hear, an insider's view on it.
Yeah,
So
sure.
with you, you had the judges,
Mm-hmm.
these really big celebrities, and you had all these people rooting for you. One, was there a time in there that they didn't really want to play the pastor angle or the faith angle, or was that something that they really wanted to prop up? Was there any tension, I guess is what I'm supposed to say, with
Yeah.
that aspect?
I'm here to say, if you ask 10 people who have been on The Voice what their experience was, you will get 10 very different, very
Sure.
different. But man, my experience, winning the show notwithstanding, you can take that totally out of the equation. I had a good experience.
Good.
They, I did have, well, in certain ways, it's a luxury, but I like and try to look at the silver lining. I did have the luxury of being 41 when I did my blind audition. I was 42 by the time I won the show, but I had the luxury of some life. And so it's almost like there were so many different things they could choose from to like, this is, because that's the thing at the end of the day, it's a cast of characters, that's, and so, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that as a criticism to the production or anything. So they had, but because I was older, man, I was a pastor. I'd been married, for 20 whatever years, 21 years or whatever at the time. We had 8 kids. 2 of our kids were adopted. I had lost, 100 plus pounds, and because I used to be really big and all these things. And so basically, if you watch the show, I don't want to say angle. I hate to say that because it sounds like I'm being critical, and I'm not, I'm not at all. But they sort of really went hard after the dad and the adoption kind of thing. But my faith, I was concerned because I am, I don't know, Jesus personally said that we would be blessed. And so I'll take it. I am a peacemaker. I don't want to fight. I don't want there to be confrontation or conflict. I don't like that. And so I was worried. I was literally like preparing myself mentally for what do I do, in these situations where they're going to try to like stifle me, or that never happened. They actually, as a matter of fact, they came to before COVID, they came to our hometown and filmed worship, and they aired it, aired a section of our worship service.
I love it.
So they were very, very open to that. They never gave me any issues. There were times on the show, like, there, and I don't know, because I don't want to, I don't know what they're thinking, like what their mentality is, I do try to very intentionally think the best. Like, I'm sure they had the very best of intentions. I'm sure they did. But, like, there were times like, after COVID and we were all restricted and, we were remote. There was a time on the show where we were sort of all talking about what we missed, and they told me that we're going to talk, sort of have a conversation about it with your coach, a remote conversation about, different people were talking about whatever, you miss going to the gym or whatever, and they told me they literally said, hey, if there's anything you ever, I don't know, you're a pastor, anything you share with your church or something that you miss doing, and so I literally just took that opportunity to just share the gospel of the kingdom, and that never did air. And I don't know, I don't think there was like any kind of like malice, behind them not airing that. I don't know, but they never gave me any issue on the show that I saw or that I perceived, as far as that goes. But I'm also, I don't know how to put it. I'm also like, I love you, and I want to love you, and I want to love you right where you are. And I believe in the word of God, and I believe in the scriptures, but I've never been one of those people that, like, the moment I meet you, I feel like it's my job to let you know everything you're doing wrong or something. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been that guy. And so maybe if I was more of, like an in your face kind of, maybe they would have pushed back or something, but it was a really good experience. I mean, not counting just that I was anxious, like super anxious the whole time, like, which I don't even know why. Because literally, I just was convinced every week that I was going to get kicked off. I'm like, I know I'm getting kicked off this week. Mm-hmm. And so if you already think that's what's going to happen, then what are you even anxious about? But I was, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that,
totally get it. I grew up doing a lot of piano competitions and things, and
yeah,
they're like, "Oh, Harrison, you can play this in your sleep," and I'm like, I am freaked out right now.
freaking out. Yeah,
My like I'm shaking, and somehow you like
yeah,
you might win the competition or whatever, everything goes well, but man, I can't wait till I get off that. Like I love
yeah.
performing, but like
Mhm.
competitions, it's a different kind of anxiety because your
It
people are
is.
like over analyzing you and everything.
Hmm.
I'm curious with your coach Blake Shelton, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
What would you say are some of the biggest lessons maybe you learned with your time with him, and how much interaction do you actually get with your coach? What is that like?
I'm going to say, and now I can only base this on my experience,
Sure,
like
of course.
that I had on the show, because we were there in person and I think they kind of kept this stuff at like behind the scenes, but COVID sort of forced them to push it out to the world that this is how it works in real life,
Mm,
because you go and you have your blind audition, and then you go home, you know, and then you fly back out again, excuse me, for like battle round, and if you make it through, you stay for
hmm.
knockout round, and then you go home. And this was all pre-COVID. I think they may do it now different, but I'm not sure. And then you fly back out again for the live rounds. And so if I compare my time blind audition, battle round, knockout round, which was there.
Hmm.
If I compare that to the time that we were remote from home, I actually think I got more interaction with Blake remote,
Oh,
because we would be here on the screen, like on a Zoom,
yeah.
and they're trying to get all of these people who work on the production like on the Zoom, and everybody's supposed to be doing whatever their role is. And basically me and Blake are just there on the screen because that's all they're going to show on TV is the two of us.
Right.
And so we just kind of got to chat and get to know one another while everybody was getting everything, ready. And so that our interaction probably will, I mean, I don't know this for sure. But because I don't have anything to compare it to.
Sure.
But I think than the reaction that we had in like battle round, knockout round.
Mm.
I think I had more. But then as far as the takeaways from Blake, honestly, I think my biggest takeaway is probably not musical at all. It's just Blake is just such a great. This is Blake Shelton, and it is what it is, and that is and a lot of people find this hard to believe, which I don't know. I guess I'm glad. I don't know. I guess it's good that they find it hard to believe when they talk to me. That is one of the hardest things for me because one of the biggest battles I fight, even to this day, it's like when I walk into a room, something in my brain tells me these people don't like you. I don't know
Oh.
what that is,
Mm-hmm.
and so you need to try to do whatever it is. And Blake he just is what he is. And I found that so refreshing, that if that's how he is, you just do what you do. You are who you are. And there are going to be people who love it. There are going to be people who don't, and I think that's probably the biggest takeaway I got from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same, when Jesus says, for his disciples to go out, share his message, and if people
Hmm.
reject you, just,
Yeah. Knock the dust off.
knock the
Yeah.
dust off, and you just move on, you do your thing, and
Hmm.
that's interesting. So okay, let's fast forward. You win The Voice, right?
Hmm.
And so, what was life after The Voice? Especially after coming out of COVID and all of that. What what was it like coming off, from like that really big high of winning to let's say now? Like, what is it? How has it changed, and what does it look like? What are you doing now?
Oh man. So much. Just coming off the show, and I will say, and I guess I kind of expected it, which I guess that's a good thing. It even the people just like, I'm not even talking about the media or like, TV or podcasts or whatever. I'm just talking about everyday regular people like you and me. Even that section of the population, they fall off pretty quick. There's like
Mm-hmm.
a few people that stick right there with you, but that kind of falls off really fast. And so it was almost like, and even now I wonder, if there was something else that some other answer that I should have given in a meeting or something, because I don't know, I don't know. I literally was like doe-eyed out here. I don't,
Sure.
and so everybody's telling you to capitalize on the moment, but no one can tell you how. Like, how do you capitalize on the moment? I met with different people. I met with record labels and all these things, and and all the and the good thing about that is I met a ton of people who I still have a relationship now with, and we write songs together still now and stuff like that. But I didn't know how to capitalize on the moment, and neither did anyone apparently.
That's interesting.
And so all I knew to do, the scripture says the just live by faith. And so that's all I knew to do is try. And I know, I'm certain that I made many, many mistakes. Some of them I can say this was a mistake. Other ones, I don't know what it was, but I'm sure it was, but so I sort of went right into it, trying to write songs and trying to record things and trying to, talk to labels and trying to get booking agents and touring and all the things. And it was tough, and I don't know what, the only thing that I can say is I don't know. Maybe it's because I was 42 years old, and that's, I get that's a hard sell. I would tell people that. I understand. But the beauty part of that is, y'all, I'm not, all I want to do then and all I want to do now is whatever God wants me to do. And I want to feed my kids and take care of my family while I do it. I don't care. I'm not trying to be a household name. I'm not trying to get my face on a Coke can. None of that. I just want to do what God wants me to do and take care of my family, and that's it. And I was never trying to be, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to win a Grammy. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Cool. But that's never been the goal. It's literally always been like, I want to do whatever it is that God wants me to do, which, my whole life though, man, and maybe everyone can relate to this. I don't, my whole life, my whole adult life, it's almost like every season that I was in, like every chapter that I was in, I would love to say, like sit down and take a sigh of relief. This is the thing, this is where God has me. But it's literally like everyone is just like a training ground for the next one.
Yeah, it really is.
It never, I don't know if you ever reach that point where you're like, this is the spot, this is where. And so even now, man, I couldn't even tell you what I'll be doing a year from now. I don't, but I did all that. And, we've had, I've been able so far, sometimes it was way scarier, than other times. But I've been able to, we pay the rent and we get the groceries and the lights stay on, and I've looked step by step, different doors have opened, just in the past year. I got a call about this time last year, actually, sitting right here in this room. I took the call and from Answers in Genesis, up there at the Ark and the Creation Museum. And they have a group called True Song. Well, I say we, now it's we, like I'm part of. And so it's the hardest thing to explain to people, which I don't know why this is so hard for people to grasp. And I'm not being ugly. I'm just saying, like, I'm still a solo artist. I didn't feel like Faith. It's out on radio right now. It's coming out to streaming in March, I still do that, but I joined True Song, which is the basically the house band up there. But it's almost like for his purposes, for God's purposes, first and foremost, whatever that is, some of them are very easy to see. Some of them, I don't know, you may never see the fruit. We plant the seed. And God brings the increase. Sometimes we don't know. We just plant the seed. And, but it seems like these things just turn up right at the right time, for me to be involved with that, which I get to stay in music, which is, I still get to sing and I'm part of music. I get to share my faith. which is very, very important to me. And also it's standalone. It's not quite there, but it is a huge portion of me taking care of my family, providing for my wife and for my kids, and so just little by little, step by step, God has opened it. And I guess it's sort of like, but you think about it, he's not going to like do me different than he did like Abraham,
No,
he's
he
like,
cares about his flock.
want you to go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I want you to go. And I want to be like, okay, God, I'm going. Where are we going? I want him to say, this is how the story ends, but that's just not how it works.
That's so true. Well, I love how you're following the calling, though. You're all these twists and turns we can't predict of what the path is, and it's from the opportunities that he's been giving you. I was just talking with someone on another podcast. It's we called him an opportunist in the positive form of the word. He gives people opportunities, and we just have to be there to say yes to the opportunity. And the opportunity might not be something that we really enjoy, but it's what we need, or what we need to grow and learn. And it sounds like, with your experience, and everyone can relate to, because we all go through it, but you're just saying yes to these opportunities and be like, okay, God, where am I going?
This is that I'm laying it at your feet. That's what I say. I'm putting this at the feet of Jesus. Every one of these things. Yeah.
Amen. I love it. Well, so God does have a plan for us, but he also does like us to have, dreams, and, God wants us to follow what he has planned, and sometimes maybe what we think our plans might not completely align. But I am curious, in this moment right now, with your musical journey, or just maybe there's other things outside of music, what are some of your dreams, or things that you would really want to pursue, or career-wise want to pursue, like that you feel like would be exciting to you?
Oh man, honestly, man, I just have such an indescribable love for the people, just being there. And so honestly, if I could, and this is no reflection on anything, because I've had people say, well, do you think you'll ever pastor again? If that's what God wants me to do?
Sure,
absolutely. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got some pretty hardcore PTSD from my pastoring days. Yeah. It's weird. It's like when I went into pastoring, it was like if somebody said, hey, I need to talk to you, I'm like, okay. By the time I left, if somebody says, hey, I need to talk to you, I'm like, what is it about? Like, tell me now. And then
let's filter this through.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, man, if I could just keep writing and touring, I love doing that. I love being there. I love whether it's church services. I do a ton of that. I do a ton of Christian concerts. I do lots of stuff that maybe would be considered secular. But I'm never shy about like my faith, As a matter of fact, one of my favorite stories to tell is I was doing a church service in South Carolina, and a lady came to me after the service, and she said, I need to show you something. And on her phone, she had taken a video of me in a secular venue doing a set, and I was doing my little hymn medley, and we were singing Amazing Grace, and she panned around the room, and everybody in the room was singing Amazing Grace, and then she panned around her table, and everybody at her table out here, just out in the world, were just weeping and singing Amazing Grace, and that's one of my that's what I wanted. I love that, and so that if I could keep doing that, there's been talks of us writing more, as far as books and not just music. I love writing songs, that, and then now, we literally are just now jumping into, we just about a year ago, we got involved with foster care, and so we've had four children in our care, but it was just 3 placements. One of them was 2. One of the placements was actually a teenage mom and her brand new born baby, that like brand new born. And they were only here. They were only here for a very short time because, well, I say this is why she didn't speak any English, and so we were having to use our phones to communicate. We would talk, and I think they found a home that did speak her language, and so it was much easier for them. But in that just in our short time in the year that we've been part of, we haven't even been fostering for a year. We've just been part of it. We've only been fostering for maybe 6 months, 8 months, I don't know, somewhere in there. I've just seen, that there is, and it's good. I don't have any complaints about it at all, but there is, like, the state does provide support, but when you get a brand new placement, that support doesn't come for a minute. And so we're literally right now in the very beginning, we're kind of trying to pursue a brand new mission. We're calling it 937 based on Mark 9:37, which says, if anybody receives one of these little ones, they receive me. And if anybody receives me, they receive the one who sent me. And we're trying to start I don't know what you call it, an organization, a foundation, a ministry, whatever you want to call it, where we can provide a certain amount of money to these families who have brand new placements, and they may need things because these placements come with nothing most of the time, or very few possessions. And maybe you need, diapers, or maybe they're older and you need deodorant and shampoo or clothes or whatever. And you just, most people in the world, I mean, if you just follow what everyone's saying, which is all we can do, they don't have all this money laying around, So we're just now starting that, where we're trying to raise some initial funding right now to get the website up and all the different things, where we can just sort of help these people. And we have an application process, or we will. It's not up yet. It's coming. But the application is only going to be, number one, are you certified to foster? And number two, is it a new placement? And if you can say yes to those two things, then we have means by which we're going to use to just help them just go get some diapers or whatever, Hot Pockets, whatever, you just, whatever it is that you need to get by until the state support comes through. And so that's a big passion of ours right now that we're working on. But yeah, honestly, musically, the dream is just to keep writing and recording and singing and touring and doing the music. It doesn't, honestly, I'm not trying to be modest, and I don't know what, I've always said, if you think you're humble, you're not. So I don't even know what humility even looks like, what, I'm not trying to be humble about it. But honestly, I don't need to be rich. I don't even want a big house. It's too much to deal with. We have a lot of kids, but you can, everybody's like, well, where do they all sleep? And I tell everybody the same thing, like, y'all, where they sleep is not the concern. The concern is where they are when they're awake.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sleeping is fine. It's when they're up that's the problem,
Right.
It's just chaos, But yeah, I don't really, I don't know. I'm a pushover with my kids, and so I don't think, God knows he can't trust me with $1 million anyway, because I blow it all on the kids, and So I just love doing it. And if I could just keep doing it and provide for my family, because people, man, and I try to be as real with it as possible, because I feel like if you will just tell the truth, then other people can realize that they're not alone, because that's the truth for them too, and they're not by themselves. And so I have no complaints whatsoever, but being the sole provider for a family is such a heavy weight, crushing weight, and so I'm just like, man, if I could reach the point, and we're not there yet, who knows what's coming next week or next month, but we're not there yet. Like, if I could reach the point where I'm just like, I get to do this music and I get to never worry whether the rent's going to be paid or the light bill or whatever, on time, I love it. That's fine with me. I'm not, if God goes beyond that, it's all gravy. Great. That's beautiful. But I'm okay.
I love how family is the focus for you, and it seems it's what brings you purpose, what brings you joy.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, you have a big family, you're also fostering. If you could touch on that, how did you feel that calling, you and your wife, and to have so many kids, and then, adopt so many, what was the calling there?
So we like early in our marriage, our oldest son, he just got married actually last
Oh,
summer.
congrats.
He was born in, we actually got one getting married this fall. So it's
Hey,
weird.
that's
It's like
exciting.
all
Big
kind of,
party.
so but we got married and my oldest son was born like a year and a half later. Actually, when we got married, man, I was 20 years old. My wife was 18. And so I like to say I made her a teenage mom. I mean, she was
Technically, yeah.
yeah, she was turning 20 her birthday is actually in February and he was born
Oh,
at the end of January. Um, but early on when we were having we always call them like the OG three, like the oldest three sons, we kind of discussed that we would be interested in adopting, but it was never, I don't even want to say it was like I don't want to say it wasn't serious, but, um, and so we had, our oldest son was born in 2000. Our second oldest son was born in 2003. And then our third oldest was born in 2005. And in the meantime of all that, we had always talked about possibly adopting, and our third oldest son was probably about 2 years old, maybe,
okay.
or three. And my wife and me, we just have a unique way of communicating when we are concerned about how the other one is going to respond. And in what I mean is like, a lot of times if you say something that you're not sure how they're going to respond, she don't want me to interrupt her and I don't want her to interrupt me. And
Oh,
so what we'll do is we'll just email or text and get all of our thoughts out,
oh,
and,
that's actually a good way. Yeah.
yeah. And then we do talk about it. It does not stay in the email or text. We do discuss it and have a conversation. So she just emailed me one day and she said, I feel like I really do want to pursue this adoption thing. I feel like it's something that God's put on my heart. And and I just felt, I don't know, good about it. I felt, yeah, we could give this a shot and see what happened. And man, it was a whirlwind because, God, thankfully, God knew that our oldest two daughters were in Korea, because we just tried this and that and the other thing and everything. It didn't work because of this, or it didn't work because of that, or she wasn't old enough, or we didn't have, whatever, enough liquid assets or whatever, all the things,
Oh, yeah.
But Korea, even though we still had a couple of little hoops we had to jump through, Korea worked. And so we adopted our oldest daughter. She came home in 2010. She's actually just about to be 17. So, she came home in 2010 and she was home for, I don't know, she was home for about 8 months. I'm pretty certain it was like right at 8 months. And the agency called and they're like, hey, guess what? She had a sister born. She's actually 5 months old already. And so we jumped right back in. And man, God, those are both just miracle stories, just hardcore, bona fide miracle stories. And so honestly, after our second daughter came home, she came home in 2011. They're literally 1 year and 10 days apart. Like my oldest daughter's birthday is March 24th. My second oldest daughter's birthday is April 10th. So they're like 1 year, 10 days apart. And after our second daughter came home, honestly, I wish I mean, I realize everybody knows, everybody knows where babies come from and all that stuff. But like, we didn't really, it's almost like it just was God's plan for us to have more biologically, because it wasn't, there was at least one of my children, we were deliberately not trying to get pregnant. We were taking steps, and it was just clearly God's will, because we did, and he's here. And so, then after that, our oldest and our youngest have the same birthday, 16 years apart. They were born on the same day of the year, which was
cool.
they just had birthday, the 29th of January. And then, after that, when Winnie was 4, when all the voice, our baby, she was 4 when all the voice happened and all that stuff. And we moved up here. And so probably over the last couple of years, my wife has, which is, to the outsider, I'm sure it's crazy. Like, it's just insanity. And I get that. I understand that point of view. I want to say I get that, but she just really she talked to me many, many times about how she felt like we weren't done, at least with children being part of our lives. Whether we end up adopting again, we don't know. We're open to it. You never know. And so I remember I was actually singing on a cruise. I was gone singing on a cruise, and she was home with the kids. And once again, we sort of had this email exchange, and that's how we sort of decided to jump into foster care and say, all right, let's give this a shot, and we'll see where God takes it. We don't have any we're fostering to adopt. If that's God's plan, then that's what we'll do. So be it. We're honestly, and it all sounds, when you say it out loud, it just sounds so so, I don't know. I don't know the word I'm looking for, like righteous. No, like, y'all, I hope, if there's anything I hope people know about me, it's I'm a mess, y'all. I don't even know where my ducks are, much less them being in a row. I feel like if you ask me a scripture if there's one scripture that applies to my life more than any of the scriptures, it's Paul, when he says, everything I want to do feels like I can't do that, and everything I don't want to do, it feels like it's the only thing I ever freaking do, and that's literally. So I don't want to come across like some spiritual guru here. I am not, but I do feel like we can just sort of serve where we are, and love. If these children, we've already had 3 of them, 4. But the 4th is still here with us. But, if they're in our lives temporarily, and we have to experience heartbreak, I have a video. It's somewhere, you can probably look it up still on YouTube, of when we went and picked up our second daughter, when we went to get her from Korea. And I won't ever forget, as long as I live, and it is burned into my memory. And there's video of it. Her foster mother's face when we went to pick her up. Her foster mother followed us out of the office and down the stairs and through the lobby and out into the street. And as we got into the cab, her foster mother is outside the window of the cab, just weeping. Mm. And I will never forget, in that moment, realizing that is how love works. Love is always somebody breaking so somebody else can be whole. And then at some other point, then the tables turn and it's your turn to break, and so if that's what we have to face, then I'm not looking forward to it. Like, the baby that's here with us now has only been here, I don't know, a month and a half or so, and I'm like, oh Lord, if the time comes for her to go, oh man, it's going to hurt. But we're here to do what we need to do at the time we're supposed to do it. And that's the best I got,
From your experience of parenting such a large family, what would your advice be to other parents who might want to embark on that journey of adoption or having a larger family? What's something that you feel would be beneficial for them to know from your experience?
Oh man, I always give the same joke answer to this, and I always say, don't ever feed them that first time, because they get addicted and they want to eat. But yeah. Honestly, oh man, first of all, I really hope you would take this from me. Please take it from me. You can do it. Like, it is possible. Like, I have no qualifications. I literally, it's weird that we're talking about this right now, because I've literally had these conversations with my wife, because we don't have any shows in Kentucky for January or February. So I've gotten to be home a lot more. And I've literally just had a lot of these conversations with my wife about some of these issues that I personally have. And I'm like, I don't understand why I can't just sort of, I don't know, just put my head down and will myself to overcome whatever these things are, and maybe one day I will, So I said that to say, you don't have to have any qualifications. I do not. I mean it when I say I don't. You can do it if you just trust God, love these kids, try not to have any preconceived ideas about how it's going to be and what it's going to look like, because the real truth is it is it there will be times, lots of them, where it is just really messy and hard, and you are either heartbroken or frustrated or anxious about how this is going to work with, and it doesn't get better the older they get. Like my children are, I've got adult, my oldest son lives in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I start to freak out, I literally, no joke, I intentionally tell myself, Todd, do you know how many people live in LA that nothing bad ever happens to? I literally tell myself that just to keep, but number one, you can do it. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have any qualifications. You just love the kids. But again, try not to have these notions and these ideas. Don't glamorize it in your mind. But sadly, most of the time, not all the time, that's good, but most of the time they're already past by the time you realize it. But those moments, those like really beautiful moments that you had pictured, they do happen. You do live those moments, and I was sitting out by the fire with my daughter. She's 10. She just turned 10, my baby daughter. Well, if you don't count our foster daughter, our baby daughter, she just turned 10 about a week ago. And she would have been 8, I guess. And we have a fire pit out here in the yard. And I had a fire burning, and it was like, I always kind of do that a ton, like during the fall, because it's getting crisp and nice out there. I had a fire burning, and I was listening. I think I was actually listening to Van Morrison out there,
Nice.
Sitting by the fire. Because my wife, I remember one time my wife came out there and she said, "Can I sit by the fire with you? I promise not to talk." And I said, and I'm like, "Oh, babe, you can talk. You just can't gripe. Like the fire, we can talk. It's just no griping out here,
Mm-hmm.
But I was out there, and my baby daughter was out there with me, and she said, it was just her and me, and she said, "Daddy, you know what I think?" And this kid's 8, no joke, 8 years old at the time. She says, "Daddy, you know what I think?" And I said, "What is it, baby?" And she said, "I think that there are people in the world who do bad stuff, and they are kind of bad people, but I think we're just supposed to love them anyway. I think we're just supposed to love them." And I was like, "Dang, that's true, babe. That's like not, most grown folks don't get that." And then literally same conversation, just a minute later, she said, "Daddy, you know what I think?" And I said, "What is it, baby? What do you think?" And she said, "I think these are the good old days." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
That hits.
And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, babe, they are. These are." And I wish I would have paid attention more, like every day, that these are there are times where you're like, "Man, I don't know how we're going to pay the bills. I don't know if anybody's going to stream this song or if any radio station is going to play it. I don't know." And I get so overwhelmed with that stuff that I just don't pay attention sometimes, that these are the good old days. One day they crawl out of your lap and never crawl back up and never again, And so that's the advice that I would give you. Just try to pay attention that those beautiful moments, they do happen, but it's fairly chaotic. Fairly chaotic a lot of the time.
I think that is great advice, and definitely wise beyond her years. My goodness. And
Oh yeah, absolutely.
sometimes we do just have to listen to some of these children, because some of the things they say, they're so observant and so intuitive, and they kind of bring us back to reality sometimes.
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
We
That's
get too caught up in our heads, and sometimes we just we need a reality check from from
the
those
flip
young
side
ones.
is they'll let you know if you're fat or if you're breast as well.
Well, the truth will set you free, I guess, right? Oh, I love it. Well, I do want to touch on real quick your recent single that's on the radio. Didn't Feel Like Faith. So, what was the story behind that, and what's the plan with this new single?
So the way that this song came about was every song, almost, well, maybe not everyone, almost every song idea that I ever have is just by accident. We're just having conversation.
Sure.
And we were talking one day about the adoption. I was just both of the adoptions. We were talking about them, and I just said, looking back, we were clearly operating in faith, but it didn't feel like faith at the time. It felt like a lot of hard work and waiting, and so that ended up being what the song is. That like the song is, the chorus is literally felt like heartbreak, felt like pain, felt like dying all the way, felt like begging God and pleading, asking why, and felt like, why'd you make me do this? But I'll do just what you say. But it didn't feel like faith at the time, and that's kind of what, the beginning of the song is Abraham and Isaac going up the mountain, like, I don't know what it felt like coming down, but I guarantee what it felt like going up, and so, yeah, it's on radio right now. So if you have like a gospel station in your area, please call them and ask for it. And it'll be streaming March the 13th. It'll be out to the streaming platforms.
Fantastic. Well, we'll try to direct everyone, to that so they can hear it and hear all of your music. We'll make sure all the links are in the description and everything.
Yeah,
because,
thank you.
Well, I mean, I love the music. I blasted it in my car, and I'll have to call our local station to get it on the radio. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, we are coming to the end of our podcast, and one thing that I do with all of my guests is we do a quick rapid fire round of questions. So, are you ready for this, sir?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not great at rapid fire. Let's give it a shot.
That's okay. Let's give it a shot. Okay, I have my list here, and here's my not very fancy timer. Here we go.
All right.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Morning person or night owl?
Oh, both, but probably night owl.
Favorite artist of all time?
Oh, my gosh. Favorite artist of all time? Oh, I'm just going to say Dolly Parton.
Hey, there you go. Favorite worship song?
Oh, my Lord. Favorite worship song of all time. Good Lord. I don't know. Goodness of God. I know that's
a good one.
I know that's a common answer, but
it's a great
solid
song.
Message.
What was the first concert you ever attended?
Petra. that dates me a good bit.
I love it. What is one word your kids would use to describe you?
Oh, man. Daddy, but with an E. Deddy. They literally thought that was how it's spelled, so that's how they spell it every time on my cards and everything now. Daddy.
And what is your favorite family activity?
Being at home, man. My kids, we do best of the day, worst of the day at dinner. And every day at dinner, when it's my turn and I say my best of the day, my kids, before I can even answer, they say coming home. And it is just sitting around the living room with the kids, my favorite thing.
Oh, I love that. And there's our 1 minute. Sir, this has been an absolute pleasure to get this opportunity to visit with you and hear about what your ministry is, your calling. And, it's actually encouraging, and I think it's going to be encouraging for a lot of people that listen to this, just that we are all going through the same things. And, if their desires to have, a family, a big family, that is totally a possibility for them. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's beautiful, the journey that you're going on, and you're following God's calling. So thank you so much for your example, and thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Sheckler Spotlight with your host, Harrison Sheckler. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the show with a friend. New conversations drop regularly, so stay tuned. And thanks again for listening and being a part of the journey. Follow Harrison Sheckler on social media and visit harrisonsheckler.com to learn more.